Hi, this is Pamela from Hello Health and the Encouraging Wellness podcast. And today I have Kim Alexis. Kim is an amazing, recognized face in modeling over many, many years. She's graced the cover of over 500 magazines, including Glamour, Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, and six Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues. 1980s supermodel and advocate for clean living. Kim was the fashion correspondent on Good Morning America and hosted shows Ticket to Adventure, The Great American Healthy Kids Quiz, Your Mind and Body, and more. She also co-emceed Look of the Year and judged for Miss World, Miss Universe, Miss America, and Miss Teen. Kim has also starred in numerous commercials, including Sauve, Revlon, and CoverGirl, promoting some of the most famous products. More than just a model, Kim parlayed her good looks and passion to help others. She's broadened her brand to encourage people to stay healthy and active as they age with clean lifestyle and health and beauty tips. She's learned healthy boundaries and staying true to herself and became a passionate Christian. She's also written many books, both fiction and nonfiction, but mostly known for her clean eating ebooks available for purchase on Amazon. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the nice intro.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
So, obviously you've had an incredible journey in life, and, tell us a little bit about, and obviously what we consider to be healthy in the 80s is not at all healthy today, and what's kind of taken you on your health and wellness journey.
Well, when I was young and before modeling was ever in my radar, I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I must have had this cause and effect and this whole thing about what certain products do to you. And probably in pharmacy school, which I was registered in before I decided to go to New York, I would have learned that I love the natural approach. So it's wired in my DNA to search and research and discover new things. And what does this do to you? And what does that do to you? And being in the modeling business, which is marketing, over the years, you learned that many of the products, most products we buy in any category, talk about what they do for you, how they make your life easier, how something can be quicker, how you can be thinner, whatever it is. But they don't say what it does to your health. So I started diving deep. Well, that might freshen my room, but what does it do to my hormones? So I just really started diving. And in the 80s, we didn't have information like this. I remember living in Westchester with two young children, working in the city, and having to drive 45 minutes to an hour up to Connecticut to a health food store because there was nothing around where I was. So this was actually in like the early 90s. So we have just, I think, evolved, and we're becoming much more aware. And that's my mission, is to help people. And when I'm on Instagram, I'm like, you might not have known this, but how about this? And people like sometimes get mad because they don't want to change whatever it was. Like, I was doing just fine not knowing about how dirty that product was or whatever it is, but at least So we have to all make decisions, and let's make healthy ones instead of not healthy.
Yeah, what are some of the easier ones you found? Obviously it's better to stay away from chemically derived processed food, but what are some of the things that you find are easier for people to make a change on?
Cleaning products is probably the easiest because, and I guess some women would say, well, I don't clean a thing, but most of us have something in our bathroom in case the toilet needs to be whatever. So there are just healthier alternatives. I even looked up the other day 8 different alternatives to bleach, whether it's lemon juice or vinegar or baking soda or hydrogen peroxide. And so depending on what the job is, there are some fairly basic things you can do, or even companies that are totally clean and pure. And if you rely on some of these really good, clean companies, you can buy any of their products and trust that you're getting something non-toxic and still does the job.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. So in cleaning supplies, even, clean toilets, clean the bathtub, I mean, all of it, huh?
Yeah. Well, everything, let's say you touch something on your hands, that's going to go into your system. I remember like the little Clorox wipes or the bleach, you're cleaning away. And then I'm like smelling, I'm like, oh, that smells like bleach. And so if I have too much of that in my system, I know it knocks down my immune system. I can feel it. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm just in tune or just a little off, but that's what I choose to do, is try and stay away from things that leach into my skin.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. And what about food choices? There's so many different diets and so many different things that people are trying and not trying. Do you find that you've got a preferred way of eating?
Well, I think that, and I wrote an ebook on this called Dieting Lessons. And some guy yelled at me after, he's like, "You didn't tell me what to do." And I said, the whole point of the book is there's vast different diets, and some work for some people and some don't for others. I was just there to talk to you about what I went through and all the different things I tried and what's the good and what's the bad in each one. So some people do really well on high protein. Others have to be vegetarian or vegan. And you just have to kind of go through each thing and figure out what works for you. Sometimes I'll eat something, I'm like, I did not feel good after that. You're ready to take a nap and you just feel sluggish. And I mean, it might be something as simple as yogurt, plain yogurt, organic plain yogurt, but it's still dairy. So for me, I love yogurt, and I have to remind myself, you know what? Sometimes I just want to take a nap after that.
So dairy makes you tired.
Sometimes, and my sister stays away from dairy and my mother stays away from dairy.
Mm.
So sometimes it helps to talk to siblings and parents, and there's history sometimes, like scrambled eggs. Sometimes I get a little bit of a headache, and none of my family really likes egg. I mean, we love eggs, but we don't do well with them. So it's a matter of really listening to your body, and the simpler I think you can stay of just eating a whole food here and not mixing like 20 different things in a recipe. How are you going to figure out what bothers you from that? So to me, it's a simple way of eating. I try to get a salad in every day. I buy the big, huge bin filled with spring mix and plunk all that in my bowl and just add different things to it. So that's a staple in my house, and whole fruits. And I don't really eat canned fruit. I don't drink juice. I just did a video on juice, and people got mad. They're like, "What do you mean there's sugar in that orange juice?" I'm like, well, it's like eating 5 oranges. You would never sit down and eat 5 oranges. So you're slugging that juice down in 10 seconds, and you're getting less fiber, so that sugar goes through your system quicker.
Yeah, that's true. What about salad dressing? You talk about salad. Do you have any salad dressings that you think are better, cleaner than others,
I'm one of those people. You can only do so many things, and I would love to make all my own salad dressing, and I do sometimes, where I put tahini, lemon juice, and sometimes I live in Arizona, so sometimes we've got oranges on the back tree or lemons or whatever. So I'll squeeze some of that in. But other times I don't have time, so I've got to rely on 1 or 2 dressings that I think are healthier. There is an app on your phone where you can scan the barcodes to see how good or bad something is. But sometimes if you're in the grocery store, you just got to take the best you can take. I'm also a big believer in cold pressed oils. So if you're having something raw, you want to have the cold, for a salad, you want a cold pressed oil. So it's just better for you. You don't want to ever heat that. And I never knew. Nobody ever told me. I thought, oh, well, I'm just buying cold pressed because it's pure or clean or whatever. No, and then I would heat it up, and it has a very low smoke point, and it was not good for me. So we just have to be educated. It's just a matter of listening and learning. And I'm sure you have a lot of great people on, and the more you interview, the more you learn or ask questions. And
Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey for sure. And we usually try and have doctors on, but when I met you and fellow hockey mom and health and wellness and everything else, I was like, oh, this would be great. So it'd be a lot of fun. Talk to me about water. Water is a huge part of who we are as people and what we drink and we don't drink. And we had someone on the other day that was very passionate about, certain types of filtering or not filtering. And, if you have any opinions on this, that'd be great.
well, I am a reverse osmosis girl, and I have one in my kitchen. And then I also go to the grocery store with a big 5-pound or 5-gallon big jug, and I fill that. And they do the carbon filter, and they do the UV light, and they go through this big, huge process. And then I'm putting it in a plastic bottle. I'm like, I certainly hope there's no plastics leaching into the water. And 40 pounds of water is heavy. So I'm thinking, I wonder if they have these 5-gallon glass jars. And I'm like, how heavy would that be trying to lift that up?
Heavy.
So at some point you just, you can only do so much. But I also, because I reverse osmosis and it takes out the minerals, I'm a big believer in putting those back in. So I have liquid minerals and I squirt that in shakes in the morning just to get the minerals back in. I'm a big believer in sea salt because of the mineral content there.
Yeah, which, is my son is very big into making sure that there's plenty of sea salt as well, and lemon juice. And tell me a little bit about supplements. As we're getting older, your skin looks super, how are you able to maintain a youthful glow and feel healthy at the same time?
You're glowing too, by the way. I think that supplements is another thing that is very individualized. And I can read something. I actually said an article about that. I'm like, squirrel. So I'll read a new article and be like, berberine, you have to have berberine. And I'm like, oh, it's got this and this and this. So I'm going to go get berberine, or, whatever it is. And you get on this kick and then you're like, well, I don't know if I feel anything from that. So maybe now I'm going to try something different, squirrel. And so I'm off to something else. But there's a couple of basics that I have to have, like vitamin D. And if I'm eating too many vegetables, I want to make sure I have enough B12. And sometimes I give blood every 8 weeks. And so sometimes my blood is low. And I made the mistake once of giving blood when I was right at the threshold of being on the low side. And I threw myself into anemia. And so I can't do that again. So I have to make sure I've got enough iron in my system, which are those little mineral drops help, and spinach helps. And so it's just, I don't want people to be overwhelmed and think there's too much information. I'll never be like that. I can't do it. But we just have to keep every day chipping away and learning new things. And some will apply to people and others will be like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And what are some of your favorite books on health and wellness? Obviously, you've written quite a few. So, some of your favorite topics or some of the favorite things that you have around what people really love.
I have lately just been reading online. So I go and search, and a newsletter could tickle me on a certain subject. I had one the other day on farmers markets, and I'm going to do a video on it, but that some of these farmers markets are cheating. They're literally going to wherever the grocery store goes for produce. They're getting the leftovers from the grocery stores and then coming in and presenting it as, oh, this is farm raised and fresh off the farm. So then I went down a rabbit hole with that of just studying and learning, and because I'm trying to write content, right? So there are so many different things to learn, and I am just constantly, I love Google. I'm just Googling all the time, different subjects and different things. And one thing will take you to another thing, which will take you to another. So you could tell me if there's any good books, because I love it. I just love learning and reading. And
Yeah, what's really impactful, I think, is making sure that you have access to testing your body for the presence of any infection or any nutritional deficiencies, or and then obviously I've been doing quite a bit of research into good food testing, because there's lots of discussion around, well, that's not a good food test, that's not real, the scratch test, the blood test, the urine test, and so
for allergies,
yeah,
scratch test for allergies.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know that can get so confusing too, but sometimes at least you get an idea. Or because I did the skin test and it came up eggs, it popped up, and I'm like, see, I have a headache after eggs, so maybe I don't want to eat those.
Yeah, and when you're thinking about exercise at the different stages, what do you find that you really enjoy and see impact and feel good, now versus maybe 10 years ago? Or what do you kind of feel like is, and I would imagine at different stages, there's different types of exercise or different types of stretching or strength training, or.
Are you saying I've had a lot of stages in my life?
No.
So for me, I grew up swimming, and I was a competitive swimmer from the age of 6 to 18. And I swam up to 5.5 hours a day. So I had this already regimented process in my brain of take time out. This is important. But as I went to New York City, there weren't a lot of pools in New York City, and I was working morning, noon, night. But I realized that if I didn't do something, I didn't feel good mentally. Like it just helped me kind of unload and center and get back to being grounded. And so I picked up running. And I used to look in high school watching the runners go by, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, she ran 2 miles. Like, wow, that's amazing. The long distance runners. And then now I've run 8 marathons. So it's all just a matter of what you kind of get your mind into. My first marathon, I decided to run the night before. A friend was running, he'd come in town, and so I'm like, well, I think I'm going to run it with you. I don't think I'd run more than 10 miles. I was 23, 24 years old. Maybe he'd run 10 miles before. And I finished it in 4 hours and like 26 minutes with him.
That's unreal, by the way.
So I guess
Did it
I must.
hurt? Was you sore when you were all done?
Well, when I was done, I think after you run marathons, you have trouble going downstairs with your calves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's down almost more than up.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it started me on a journey, and then I started running marathons and running a lot because I loved I'd create and I'd think of things when I was out running. And if I went running in Sweden once. I was working with Good Morning America, and I literally got lost in the forest because there was snow, and the sun really wasn't giving me much direction. It was really cloudy, and I'm like, I do not know north, south, east, or west. And I was like stuck in this woods outside Stockholm, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But at least, I got out when I was traveling in different countries, and it was a way to see things and experience stuff on the ground, kind of just a different way of seeing stuff.
Which I have loved over the years running for that reason too, because it just allows you just to let your mind do its thing, which I suppose goes into meditation. So do you do much in terms of meditation, or is this kind of your meditative state as you're exercising?
I'm a prayer girl. So, and I have a feeling I almost do the squirrel thing with that too. I get the mental chatter and I can't stay with it long. Yeah. But God knows how he wired me. So that's just the way it's short and sweet. Mm-hmm. But I also can't run anymore. So I have lost that joy, and I've had to find other alternative exercises. So I've taken up pickleball. I go out biking for an hour or so. It's hot now in Arizona, but it's still, you're going fast enough where there's breeze. And if I go to the gym, I love the gym. I just could stay in the gym, and I'm one of those that doesn't know I'm tired. So I'll just keep going. And then I come home, I'm like, really wiped out. And then the next day can't do much. So I've had to learn to pace myself. And so I'll go with my husband, or I'll go and just know, okay, 30 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever, that's good, but I'm one of those go like the rabbit, and then wear myself out.
So when you go to the gym, are you doing more cardio, more muscle stretching? What do you kind of like to do?
I do both, but I lift dumbbells. I love hanging out with the guys, and I'll go on a bench and get like 22.5-pound dumbbells and do a bunch of things on the bench. And it's funny, I could almost be by myself. And by the time I'm done, there's all these guys around. Because I had 3 sons. So I'm like, oh, I just love this as a mother of boys, to be hanging out with big muscly guys doing their thing. And I just get right in there with them, and I'm not intimidated, and really enjoy a different bench routine for a while. And if those are busy, then I can, because I've been in the gym so long and had so many different trainers over the years, I can make any machine work, or then just go on a different bike or a rower. I love the rowing machine.
Yeah, that is really good. And it's not too hard on the joints too. And
my sister was a crew. She rowed crew. I don't know what you call that. She was a crewer.
A crewer. And
so she said, never put it more than 4 on that machine. Don't go up to 10. Cause I was always at 10. I'm like, I'm going to just, as I said, just go hard. So I do 30 minutes up at 10. And my sister said, no, actual rowing in the water is a 4.
I don't know. Now it's harder than a 4.
That's what she said. So I've got it at 4 now, and
wow,
it's a little bit more tolerable.
Yeah, I'll have to try a 4.
Yeah, don't you feel like you're cheating or slacking off a little bit?
It does. It does feel like a cheating.
Yeah.
What about like skincare, washing your face, lotions? What do you like? What do you dislike?
I am always, people are giving me stuff all the time. So I'm always trying very clean products. And right now, I actually just finished a book called Skin Within, and it's literally talking about all the different things we put on our skin and how there are toxins, what to identify, and then how to go and shop and find healthy alternatives.
Yeah.
So diving into that was really interesting. And it's just amazing. Some people can, we were staying at a friend's house and she had all these great like organic mayonnaises and butters, and all this great stuff in her fridge. But then she had like very common, don't want to say the names, like body lotion. And I'm like, and hair shampoo and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's what I could get her for a present, is like clean shampoo or a clean lotion or something. So there's a couple of companies, and it's in my new Skin Within book of things that I love and search and look for. But it's
Obviously,
just
you're
it's
to stay
sad.
away from, yeah, it is everywhere. So you hear to stay away from parabens, sulfates. Is there anything else that really is top of mind for you to make sure that you stay away from?
There's lots of them. There's 1,300 or 1,500 of them right now, and many are unpronounceable.
Yeah.
So, and I wrote just a small amount of some of them in that book, because to list all of them would take a whole book in itself. What's sad is that other countries ban these. In our country, FDA only stops 6 of them from coming into products. They're not monitoring skincare at all.
Well, that's how I feel about corn syrup. I don't think should be in anything at all. And it's outlawed in Iceland, for instance, which I thought was pretty cool. And yet here we have it. So
Yeah. And it's in sports drinks and right, or high fructose corn syrup. Yeah.
yeah, so much junk. So
Yes.
supermodel, hockey mom, how in the world do you end up in Arizona? You could live anywhere.
Oh, you met my husband. So he was here and I met him, and when I was actually living in Boulder for a while, but I was moving back to New York City. And so I met him and I thought, who wants to date a guy that lives in Scottsdale? Oh, well, I did, and I ended up marrying him. And so here's where I live now and actually love it. I never thought that I would love the desert and love um, the almost the beauty of the starkness. And it's just different, but absolutely love it.
It's a very easy place to live.
Yes, it really is.
Anything else that I'm not asking about? What about thyroid? I mean, that's a huge thing that many of my friends are talking about now, and most of them either have one that's too low, too high. I mean, it seems to be a problem with just about everybody.
And I'm wondering if the thyroid problems stem from all the toxins we're putting in our bodies,
Yeah.
and that it's disrupting those hormones and causing mixed messages. So yes, there's many people with thyroid. I was diagnosed years ago. I actually had to go seek somebody because I was filling out a form for my oldest son. He was having allergy problems. So there's this doctor and she had all these little categories, and I'm filling, when they're 8, you're filling it out for your kid, right? Well, there was this whole section on thyroid and it was for him, but I'm like, well, I have that and I have that and I have, so it was all these symptoms. And I said to the doctor, I'm like, he's fine there, but I have all these. She says, you need to go to an endocrinologist. So that was my journey of starting that. And we had a naturopathic doctor living with us for a while. And so he was trying to help me. So this book I wrote on my thyroid journey was all about how I would get on thyroid and then try and wean myself off of it, or have my body get used to my own thyroid getting stronger. And if I keep taking medicine, then my own thyroid stays weak. And so the thyroid medicine is literally just replacing that hormone that we don't seem to have or have too much of. Mine is hypo, which means I was sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't figure out why.
That was needed to stay on the medicine, because there wasn't have you ever found a natural alternative to, I mean, probably not, but I
have been on and off it 4 times. I'm back on it and I've just given up the fight.
yeah.
It's just very difficult. And I feel good, and to go through months of not feeling good to try and get to good. And yeah, life's too busy right now. So I just figured, take the little darn pill.
Yeah. Hormones. Any words of wisdom on hormones? wins, losses, anything that you found naturally that helps?
I wish that I could give you. I've just started listening to a new herbalist that has been around forever, but to me, she's new to me. And her talk on what's going on with the HRT, the hormone replacement therapy, she wasn't big on that. I know she's not big on the pill, and the pill can cause problems even with your children down the line. And I'm like, whoa, whoa.
Scary.
You can be a child of your mother that took the pill, and then now you're having problems. So everything is cause and effect, and we probably need to dive deep into things. I think part of our problem is that there are so many toxins and things bombarding us daily. To isolate and figure out and fix one of them is just going to throw something else off. So all we can do is our best and keep learning. But at this point, I'm on pellets. I take pellets every 3 months.
Okay. Yeah. And the doctors I've been talking to say that many of the herbs that help with inflammation also help with perimenopause and menopause. And so that's kind of an interesting place where I've been spending a lot of time doing a lot of research as well. So,
yeah, that would be interesting to put our heads together with that.
yeah, frankincense was one that keeps coming up. So that's kind of a fun one.
Yeah. So how do you take it, orally or topically?
Yeah, just a couple of drops, and it's also an antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Reason it made it into the Bible, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, it was one of his free gifts.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Must have had a lot of value that we're just kind of not really focusing on.
Yeah, I think so. What else am I missing? Day in the life of.
I'm an animal lover. So, we've rescued 2 animals from the pound. We have a dog and a cat. But over the years, I've had a cougar. I've had my first Mother's Day present. I had a 2-month-old son I'm nursing. And my husband, ex-husband now, but husband at the time, brings home a 4-year-old cougar, declawed, defanged, neutered, and deaf. And so I registered with the Florida Fish and Game Commission. So she was, licensed and taken care of. And I would drive 50 miles to go buy her horse meat and cut it up and stick it in my Sub-Zero freezer so that she could have meat for the next month. So over the years, I've just had ducks and pigs and goats and sheep and all sorts of things. And I do have a son named Noah. So for a while, we had 2 of everything.
Good. Well, thank you so much for everything that you're sharing with us, and all the incredible work that you do to help others. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've started a jail ministry also for women coming out of jail. So trying to teach them healthy boundaries along with nutrition and how to go shopping and relationships and stuff. So we're developing a 4-part series, I guess, and do it once a week. To try and get these women back on their feet and feeling good about themselves. And I'm working with Dress for Success, St. Vincent de Paul, and a group called Arrowette, which helps women coming out of jail.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about you?
My website is kimalexis.com. It has a lot of information, and there's a place to sign up for newsletters. So that's like here's what's happening this month, or this is what I did last month. And I always include a recipe, and I include an always and a never, and just the little tips of what I've been up to and a beauty tip and different things. So that's the easiest way.
Any words of wisdom for any aspiring models that are listening to you today?
Always have words of wisdom there. Never be desperate. Always have something else to fall back on. It's okay to say no. Don't sign a contract that somebody gives you without reading it first. The more they push you, the more you push back and say, nope, I'm going to take this to a lawyer. So those are just some things that I had to learn the hard way. You're used to being a young girl and listening to your parents and your teachers and saying yes because they're elders. And all of a sudden you're in the modeling business, and sometimes your elders do not have your best interest at heart. So you've got to protect you and listen to your gut. And literally your gut is that twisted feeling that you get in your stomach when your stomach's like just churning up, and that means you're manipulated and being controlled, and you got to say no and walk away.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, have a wonderful day, and thank you so much, Kim.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.